Hey.
Now I know how the screenshots work. They're actually kind of fun.
Oh yeah, they are, right? When Jared and I were at Birth of the Dragon, we did like a karate pose beforehand. So we got out of a movie that would have been way funnier if it were Dave and Brian at this movie.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the B Squad on this one.
Yeah, or the B Squad at the only movie we saw tonight. It would have been even funnier if they were at this movie, considering how fucking packed it was in there.
Because like we got to the theater and it was just chock-a-block, and I thought, well, maybe they're here to see it, you know, because it was a lot of, you know, like young kids, not like 5-year-olds, but you know, like the teenagers.
There's a balloon tied up to the register in there.
There was one time I actually took a picture. There's like one of those like sad little potted trees. They tied a balloon to one of those, and so I took a picture. I have to figure out a funny caption for it. This was exactly what I expected it to be.
And honestly, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be, too. If you've seen the trailers, guess what? There are no twists to be found in Home Again.
So, Reese Witherspoon, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, because I'm sure, like, 80% of the people in there are seeing the multiple screenings of it. But I was like, well, there really hasn't been anything that's come out in the last 2 weeks, and not everyone's a horror fan. So, okay, I guess thinking about it, it's like, yeah, all right, it also makes sense that there's a lot of people in this theater, too. Because seriously, goddamn, it was shockingly crowded in there.
But they're all very well behaved. Like, I went to sit down, this lady was like, oh, let me move my coat for you. I'm like, oh, he probably wants this one, because he likes to put his feet up. And she's like, oh, well, you guys enjoy the movie.
There was an 80-year-old woman sitting next to me who, when Michael Sheen showed up in the movie, she goes, that audience.
Yo ass comes crawling back.
What'd you think of this? Like, really? Because it's hard to talk about this, because I'm not the audience for this movie.
I'm probably the audience for this movie, and because I like romantic comedies. Like
I do too.
When they're well executed, even when it's like a She's All That, or like While You Were Sleeping.
Yes.
Just, you know, the comedy mixed with super trite plot twists and like adorable people acting their little hearts out. I enjoy it, you know. And so this movie, it's not something that I'd recommend unless you're exactly like me in that respect. But I enjoyed it.
There are plenty of romantic comedies I like. There are. It is a genre that I do like, but this particular one is like this kind of romantic comedy that is just sort of made to be on in the background at your grandma's Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, you don't really have to pay a lot of attention to this movie.
Yeah, like that is what this kind is. And for that audience, look, I'm sure you'll probably like it, because I mean it's not offensively bad by any stretch of the imagination. It just is one of those kind of movies. It's not The Goodbye Girl or something like that. It somehow time traveled from 2003 when Sweet Home Alabama was a thing.
It's a lot of like Reese Witherspoon having internal conversations and like
yeah,
like
the movie ends on that.
Yeah, pretty much. Dude, there are so many moments in this movie where I thought to myself, how much fun would it be to have a party where we all just do the things that are happening in this movie?
Yeah.
Like, it'd be nice to have a dinner party where everyone's just sitting and, like, laughing and looking at each other lovingly, just ha ha ha.
There are dinner...
Not actually talking, just laughing.
No, exactly, because there are several dinner conversations in this movie in which no dialogue is written. Oh, they're mouthing words, it's just that montage music is being played over it. Like,
or alternatively, loud, ominous booming sounds from the theater next to us.
Which is insane.
The first time it happened, because there was a scene where, like, she was having sort of a fraught conversation with one of her little boyfriends, and, like, the soundtrack cut out, and all of a sudden it's like, blah, and I'm like, shit, this movie's about to take a turn.
That gets so confusing sometimes, because sometimes I can't tell if it's part of the movie I'm watching. In this, I was 100% sure it wasn't, but I went out to use the restroom about halfway into this movie, and I was like, is Dunkirk playing next door, and I'm like, no, it's Wind River. That's a really quiet movie. What the fuck?
Wind. It was blowing so hard.
No, it had to have been the IMAX screening of it. That IMAX is so loud that it just carries over into the theater across the hall.
Even then, like, were there several parts in it where the clown just explodes? Because that's how loud it was.
There's some loud stuff in that movie, but that is also a fucking loud IMAX they have in there. It's insane. Like, ask Dave about when they went to go see Girls Trip and Dunkirk was playing next to them.
It enhances the experience, though.
For everybody you don't even have to be at that particular movie, and it's going to enhance your experience.
So I want to do a rundown of the plot.
Yeah.
So, like, Reese Witherspoon.
This shouldn't take long.
She's sort of like the Brittany Murphy character from Uptown Girls, in that she's got like the super famous dad, and so she's got like money to fucking burn, but nothing to do with her time. And so she's like kind of drifting through life and trying to figure out, like, she's like an interior decorator, sort of, except she has no clients. She's just got a bunch of fucking vision boards. And so she goes out for her birthday and meets her 3 little boyfriends who are in town to sell a movie that they ran at South by Southwest as a short, and now they want to make it into a full feature movie. We've got Entourage, we've got Tiny Baby Alan Tudyk, and we've got McLovin. And so they I thought it was a con because they had no place to stay, and so they went out to this bar, and Entourage like hits on her really hardcore, and they end up crashing at her house for the night, which turns into, we're just staying here until we get our movie off of the ground. And I was thinking that this was like, oh, you know, we hit on the old lady, so we've got a place to stay. But no, it just happened, because stuff just happens in movies like this.
You hit on one of the biggest issues I have with this movie, and I was thinking that because that was reminding me of like Moment by Moment. Not that this movie is train wrecky as that. It's not. But in Moment by Moment, which is about John Travolta as a younger guy who gets with an older woman who's played by Lily Tomlin, throughout that whole movie it just felt like there was something sinister going on, and you're kind of waiting for it to happen, and it never does. They just don't have any chemistry. And I was thinking that about this guy in this movie.
She had
because
no chemistry with him whatsoever.
None. I couldn't stand him.
He was obnoxious, and I'm so glad that she didn't end up with him. I kind of would have liked her to end up with Tiny Baby Alan Tudyk, George. Anybody
else, honestly, because this guy, from beginning to end, there was just something stranglery about this guy.
He's just a smarmy fuck. But I agree with this like, kind of like, what's his face in Fear?
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. Kind
You're
of like young, nice every boy, but his eyes are just a little too wide.
You're expecting it to turn into like that awful Jennifer Lopez movie that was out a couple years. It's like The Boy Next Door, where she has a fling with a younger guy, but then he starts stalking her. It's hilarious. It's actually funnier than this movie, and that movie's not a comedy. Anybody else was way more appealing than this guy in this film. The guy who played George was probably the most likable character in the movie. He was fun. He had good comedic timing. I like Nat Wolff, who was the other guy. When Michael Sheen shows up, I was like,
fucking Cardigan.
Yeah, I'm like, he is a million times more appealing than the guy who I think the audience is supposed to be rooting for.
Well, the thing is, I think we're supposed to root for George, because he also, like, there's several points in the movie where they say he's got a thing for her. He's like, I'm not in love with her, I just love things about her, like her face, her personality.
Yeah.
But she didn't end up with anybody at the end, which I really liked. I don't think we were supposed to root for Smarty McEntourage.
I think we were, and the reason why this is a hunch, but I think we were just because of the kind of movie this is, but that wasn't really the case at the end, because maybe that was originally supposed to be the case, but somewhere...
Tested super poorly.
Yes, but somewhere in post-production, or maybe during the filming, there was a note that said, maybe this shouldn't happen.
I can see that. And there was, like, at the very end, because, like, George makes friends with one of the daughters, and it's a whole big side plot where he has to, like, be in the sidelines during her play. Where, like, the teacher goes and finds him, and she's like, oh, are you George? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, really? And he's like, really? And so it's like,
wink.
okay, good. George got hooked up with someone. All is right in the world.
Yeah, but what about poor Nat Wolff?
He got to punch Michael Sheen. I think he ended up ahead.
I love Michael Sheen, and I love him in this movie too, because again, when it's like kind of the last act of this movie, he's not really villainize necessarily. It comes a point where, yeah, they both realize, okay, we should get divorced, and then they do, but they don't really in the last remaining moments of this movie really make him a villain necessarily. He just seems like a guy.
He's got some douchebaggy parts.
Oh, he absolutely does. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but he's not they don't make him a two-dimensional villain.
No, well, he's basically supposed to be her father that she accidentally ended up marrying.
Boy, should this movie have...
Whap, whap.
Wow, this movie should have fucking hit that nail on the head, and it never does. The most interesting thing about this movie is in the opening credits, where it's talking about the backstory of her dad, who was this John Cassavetes-like director from back in the day. You can tell this movie was written by somebody who grew up the daughter of a famous person.
Okay.
Because her mom is Nancy Myers.
Oh, okay.
And you can tell that in this movie. It never gets as provocative as it could at all. It remains purely just like, oh, the producers want to write a bunch of cartoony notes, or they're really fake in Hollywood, or the producer comes in and literally says something like, sorry guys, Jewish holiday. Like,
that fucking line.
It never gets beyond that, but you can tell by how Reese Witherspoon's character is, you can tell that this is written by someone who's kind of been around the business for a long time, or maybe grew up around it. But the most interesting thing about that is the opening credits, where it's talking about her dad's past and how her parents met and growing up around this guy who was this ladies' man auteur from back in the day. But the way this movie is, it'd be like if you had an opening credit sequence that was postcards from the Edge, and then the rest of the movie is this shitty CBS white bread new girl version for your grandmother. Like, I would have loved this movie if the three guys were Nick Miller, Winston, and Schmidt going to LA.
You could put those three in any movie and I'd like
exactly.
it more.
Well, hell, I mean, New Girl does take place in LA, so bam, you're already there.
Universe.
For whatever reason, they're trying to sell a movie and end up in a pool house of the daughter of an auteur filmmaker from the 70s.
So there's a line in the beginning of the movie where she's talking about, like, the movie just keeps randomly flashing into, like, a narrative for no reason. For no reason. Should be the tagline of this movie. And she's talking about how her dad was filming in Greece when she was born, and he found out about it by getting a telegram in Greece, in Greek, that someone had to translate for him and said, you know, congratulations, she's 6 pounds 5 ounces, her name is Alice. And I'm told that so much champagne was popped that evening that it sounded like fireworks. And I thought it was a really well done little scene.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie just did not live up to it.
No, it didn't. In that opening scene where it's practically talking about, like, oh, here, they have, like, movie equivalents in this where it's like, oh, this is like a fictitious version of the guy who made, like, I Am Curious Yellow. But I know the movie is never going to live up to what it's showing me in the opening credit sequence and what you're talking about with this whole past involving her dad, and who's, again, dead before the events of this film. So he's not a character in this, except for the fact that she clearly married her father, who's Michael Sheen, and it never touches on that.
Well, I feel like they did that on purpose. You know, they didn't, like, hammer it home, but he's, you know, they hired a guy to play her dad who looks very Michael Sheeny, and then, like, he did a lot of stuff that she explained that her dad had done.
I mean, there's subtlety, and there's maybe we shouldn't mention anything because that might be too heavy for this audience.
Or, you know, I'm inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
That, you know, maybe they just figured we'd realize it.
I mean, that's true. I mean, you'd have to be an idiot not to. But I mean, again, this is a movie that of course it all hinges on racing to the fucking school play at the end of the film.
She's like, I'm gonna do a play and I'm gonna invite everyone I know to it, and they're all like, okay, we'll be there next Friday. And then the guy's like, we've got a meeting next Friday with the finance guy, and I'm like, yeah.
First of all, a lot happens between then and next Friday
there was
too.
a montage that apparently there was like 2 years between the 2 points.
It was seriously. I was like, I guess the play already happened, because this is like several months worth of shit that just happened. But no, just some days. And yeah, they're all racing to the school play. And what was fascinating about it is that the school play going on, and the daughter up on stage like, oh, are they gonna get there? And the empty seats is spliced in with the three potential movie makers having an argument about script notes with a producer. Meanwhile, the most cliched thing you could ever put in a romantic comedy is going on. That was fascinating.
I like that the little girl's play was basically that play that Joey wrote for Chandler and Ross when they were fighting the whole time. I'm sorry, Joey. No, I'm sorry, Ross.
Let's make Joey a sandwich. Yeah.
There are some funny parts in this movie.
No, there was a handful of times I laughed, like when she's on a date with this
schmo.
This schmo who again is funnier and more appealing than the lead, than the freaking preppy rapist who's the main fucking character in this movie, the main guy in this movie. Yeah, like that was kind of funny because it cuts in on this date with this grizzled bearded guy, and he's
very LA. He's like, oh yeah, I quit my job and moved to Nepal to like find myself and then move back, try to get my job back. So anyway, what are you up to?
But that scene started with one of my favorite type of jokes was when you come into something towards the end of a conversation. And the way that this scene started is the guy goes, so, you know, that's when my brother fell off the boat and they stopped looking for him a year ago. Guess I gotta get over it. Or something like that. Anyway, like I like jokes
had
like
to
that.
just like make up the end of a conversation.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. I was like, there is no way that was in the original script of this fucking movie. I like jokes like that, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some parts where, you know, I felt like a dork for laughing, but I was still laughing. Where, like, where Michael Sheen and Entourage were, like, kind of like Macho Man posturing at each other. And, like, Michael Sheen was being comedically hilarious.
Yeah, that was one of those scenes where I was like, if this movie is asking me to root for the younger guy, it's not working. If anything, just because it's Michael Sheen.
Again, I think the movie did a good job of villainizing Michael Sheen without necessarily villainizing him.
No,
like,
it did.
Giving him lines like, you know, this is my house and my kids and my wife, and like she doesn't know what she wants. But it was still Michael Sheen, so it's like,
I know, right?
I hope he's happy.
Yeah. It's like, if you want me to root against him, don't cast Michael Sheen in there.
Yeah, give him like a big fake mustache, or like, you know, put some dirt on his face. I don't know.
The way he looks in this movie, it looks like he came from like a Dennis Miller lookalike contest. I wonder what the boys would have thought of this movie.
Man, you should just send them.
It's not bad enough for me to...
Just fucking send them next week.
It's not bad enough for me to want to do that, honestly.
I don't care. Do it anyway.
Cause the movie, I don't know, like, it is what it is. Like, it's not one of the worst movies I've seen all this year, but this movie never rises above being just, okay, this isn't really made for me. Like, like I'm not the audience for this. But again, like I said, there's plenty of romantic comedies that I like. There's plenty that I love. But it's this kind of romantic comedy that, like, okay, this is like made for my grandma. This is like,
I'm a grandma in this situation.
What?
I said, like, I'm a grandma in this
situation. But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, no, because like this movie played me like a fiddle, but you know, I knew it was happening when it was happening.
Yeah.
But it did it not well. It wasn't fucking Love Actually, but you know, they're like, oh, you know, they're having like a wine mom brunch. That would be nice. Just laughing and sloshing my wine around. Or like, oh, he's cute. Oh, he's cute. Oh, he's cute. Oh, this should be fun.
Yeah. There's nothing offensive about it, but it never rises above being just kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, it never rises above that. Doesn't necessarily go far fucking below it.
No.
It's not. It's not Me Before You or some shit like that. Like, nothing really fucking horrible happens in this movie. It's harmless. And look, I don't know if you like stuff like those rom-coms from about 15 years ago, I sure pop it up on Netflix if you want.
Even then, maybe once, but like, Okay, so like if Miss Congeniality comes up and I got shit else to do, I'll fucking sit and watch Miss Congeniality. This movie came up, I'd be like, man, I'm fine.
Like you've already, like I've already seen that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but it's if you watch the trailer for the movie and you'll get everything you need to know from the trailer. You will know whether you want to see this fucking movie or not from the trailer. Whatever opinion you have on the trailer is not going to be changed from seeing this film.
That is a well put summation.
Yeah. And that's Home Again.
Yay!
A weird sequel to the movie Home that Brian saw.
Molly's Game.
Oh, the Jessica Chastain movie.
She's like a poker madam.
Yeah, it looked like a way better version of The House. It's Aaron Sorkin.
Bad? That's disappointing.
Everything with Jason Mantzoukas was great. Edit it down to a half-hour funny Jason Mantzoukas movie, you got something.
Who's the funniest parts of the preview?
Oh, he's the funniest part of the movie too. He easily should have been the main character in the movie. He was the only good one in it. Everything else was just people ad-libbing off of each other, not shutting the fuck up. Jason Mantzoukas was funny.
Did you ever watch that movie where he was like the Sacha Baron Cohen's double, like the Dictator? Is that what it's called?
Didn't we see that?
I don't think so.
I mean, I said there was a midnight screenings of it. Maybe that was me and Dave, or me, Dave, and Leah, maybe.
That sounds right.
We did do a midnight, and I did see that. Can't remember what I thought of it. I think I thought it was fine. If I hated it, I would have remembered that.
That's fair. Nostalgia review, The Dictator, it was fine.
Yeah.
Daddy's Home 2. Daddy's Home 2. So don't forget.
Another reason why I wish Dave was in the audience with us is because Dave gets so mad when that trailer comes on because for a while he kept seeing that trailer in front of everything he's seen. I honestly haven't seen that trailer in like a few weeks or something, so I kind of forgot about it. So it would have been funny if that trailer came back just for a movie Dave was at. But when that trailer ended, the old lady sitting next to me just went, stupid.
She was a delight.
Yeah.
I have zero interest in that movie, but I will watch the scene where Will Ferrell open mouth kisses John Lithgow every time it comes up.
I'll be at that. I was at the first one, so I'm sure I'll see the second one.
Pitch Perfect 3. The pitches are back.
God, that looks so bad. Like, man, I was like, after Daddy's Home 2, I'm like, I don't know if that movie will be any good. And then the trailer for Pitch Perfect 3 starts, and I'm like, Daddy's Home 2 is gonna be a masterpiece.
And I said this to you during the preview, you know, the previews for the first two I recall being awful.
That's true.
To the point that the first one would have like sounded in my wheelhouse, but the preview was so god awful that I didn't watch it for like years after it came out. But then I watched it and I liked it. So I'm optimistic that I might still enjoy this.
It's possible, yeah, because like you said, the trailers for the other two were pretty shitty. I actually had not seen those two movies all the way through, so I don't. But I hear good things.
Yeah.
So I'll have to wait and see if I hear good things about the third one, which I'm sure I honestly probably won't be at that movie.
See, because like I enjoy a jukebox musical. More on that later. And that's basically what the first two movies are. So I think that's. Plus Anna Kendrick. I'll watch her read the frickin' dictionary.
I like Anna Kendrick. Yeah.
Jumanji. Welcome to the jungle.
Welcome to the jungle.
I'm so much more excited for this than I was before, and I was excited for it before. Maybe it'll be bad, but I think it looks pretty funny.
I saw the first. I don't have any kind of nostalgia for the first one, or it's not a movie that's sentimental to me. I saw it when it came out. I remember thinking it was fine, I guess. I don't know, but I didn't see it beyond that. So this movie, sure, it's got a great cast.
Dude, the first Jumanji, that's another one of those movies where it'll pop up on Netflix, be like, fuck yeah, Jumanji.
This one looks more like a weird sequel to Land of the Lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it didn't
it's
seem
Dwayne
very
Johnson.
Jumanji-ish.
Right, yeah.
But it did look enjoyable, so I'm still
Sure, it looks like it has potential. It's got a solid cast to it. And with Jack Black in there, yeah, it looks like if you put
King Kong.
No, like Tropic Thunder in a
Yeah.
blender with Land of the Lost, and it's something like this. I don't know. It might be all right, I guess. I don't know.
Like when the preview first popped up, I was like, are they rebooting The Breakfast Club? But then they were like, ooh, what's this old game? Jumanji, eh? Let's give it a go.
Mm-hmm. And then the title, Breakfast Club.
This time it's
Oh.
Jumanji.
Detention is awesome nowadays.
The Greatest Showman, which is...
That looks good.
Yeah, I'm into that. That looks like fucking Baz Luhrmann, except it's not Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah.
I'm probably not saying that right.
No, I think you are.
Uh-huh.
Baz Luhrmann.
Baz
Sounds
Luhrmann.
Sounds right to me. I
Larry
love
Desmond.
I love Hugh Jackman, and I love musicals. So I'm down to see this movie.
I love like oldie time circus shit, and
Yeah.
this is an oldie time circus shit. The movie.
Mhm.
I like a jukebox musical, and that's this. Although the preview was weirdly trying to make it look like it wasn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super psyched for this one. And
I
I'll
am
probably
too.
Get to go to it. Yeah.
It comes out on Christmas. And what was it you said to me afterwards? You said,
Well, okay, so David's family has this
They have a
thing on
tradition.
Christmas where tradition, that's the word I was looking for, where they all go and see a movie together, and so I'm like, okay, how do I get Dave and his father to want to go see The Greatest Showman, a jukebox musical?
It's usually not a movie like this they're at. I remember one year they were at the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo on Christmas.
That sounds more reasonable than them going to see this movie.
Because I was like, I'll go see it with you.
Yeah.
It looks like my cup of tea.
Oh, Geostorm. I'm
Timely.
like, George Gershwin, what?
See, look, there's all this stuff about hurricanes going on now. All we've needed to do is just send Gerard Butler up into space and have him punch the weather.
Yeah, this movie was poorly timed in terms of having hurricanes.
Well, Look, I don't know if the makers of this movie can make a good movie, let alone predict the weather.
How dare they not predict the weather? So this is the preview, I believe, where it has Toby in it for a brief second because he's on like the satellite committee or whatever, and then it's also got the
Eugenio
Gigolo.
Derbez.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that he's in this.
Just for no reason, he's on
Yeah.
the satellite, just being hilarious.
I'm kind of excited for this. I'm like, all right, this is Olympus Has Fallen if it were a natural disaster movie. When I first saw the trailer for it was just weather doing things, and I was like, okay, I've seen this 100 fucking times. But Gerard Butler fighting terrorists and the weather? Oh, sign me up.
I probably won't be at this one. This seems like a boys' movie, but if I end up going because they can't make it, I'll probably enjoy it.
Brian and I were at London Has Fallen, so we'll probably be at this, because everyone else hated London Has Fallen, except for me and Brian, because me and Brian were like, it was great, he stopped the car with that guy's head! So it'll probably be me and Brian at that.
So Marshall, which I don't really have anything funny to say about, except it
The Thurgood Marshall.
looks genuinely good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got Josh Gad in it. Is
Yeah.
like a serious person.
A serious gad.
Like a serious three-dimensional person, not doing voices like at all. Just getting the shit kicked out of him for liking civil rights. So I don't know, that one looked really good.
It would have been even better if it was the lead character. I don't know what I'm talking about. That Birth of the Dragon movie I was at, where it was about this fight between Bruce Lee and Wong Jack Man, but it was told from the point of view of a fictitious white guy they created.
Okay, I do remember you talking
named
about this now.
Steve. And I was through the trailer for Marshall. I was like, this could fit into the Steve cinematic universe. They bring Steve in on this movie. I was making a joke about that online about you could make different movies from different points of time and have it all be from the point of view of Steve.
Steve comes in and fights the racism.
Yes. I'm like, I want this to happen. And it seems like it kind of is, because that same guy who played Steve has just recently been cast as a newly created character in the live-action Aladdin. Like, ooh,
I read about that.
the Steve cinematic universe might be happening.
Isn't he supposed? I think didn't they cast him as the prince that Jasmine turned down?
Did they?
I don't know. Like I don't know if it was a joke that someone posted that, or if that's like an actual verified fact. But if so, they would have had to expand the crap out of that character because he's in it for like 5 seconds with his pants around his ankles. Like, you'll hear from my father about this.
Man, I hope it's all from his point of view. Just like Birth of the Dragon sucked.
He like goes into the Cave of Wonders and gives Aladdin the lamp. Like, here you go. I've empowered you.
Yes. If it's anything like Birth of the Dragon, he'll give Aladdin the lamp because his girlfriend is now working at a slavery-run restaurant, and he needs the genie to help save them and the other waitresses, because that's why Bruce Lee fought the other master in this movie, was to save Steve's girlfriend.
Although, come to think of it, okay, I think I mentioned this in the last video. I'm playing through the Kingdom Hearts games, and in the Aladdin level, I, a tiny white boy, do all the Aladdin shit for Aladdin while he's like, yeah, go Sora, and your duck friend, and your dog friend.
I prefer the Sega Genesis Aladdin game, where you had Apu standing there, and he would kind of cheer you on a little bit, and then if you got hit in the head with an apple, he'd do his, like, karate move.
I remember the Lion King one being terrible at it. Because there's a scene where you have to, like, climb on, I think it's, like, rocks coming down a waterfall, if that sounds right. It's been, like, 30 fucking years.
Isn't there a hard-ass stampede level in that game, too?
Probably. I doubt I got that far. I was not great at video games. But yeah, maybe Steve's playing Sora in this universe.
What you need to look up is Phelan did a video on a bootleg video game called Lion King 5, and the game itself is just like kind of a hack of like of another Lion King game, but the opening screen you can pick between Timon, Pumbaa, and Simba, and who you pick. You know that shot where they hold up the animal, like with the monkey guy? It'll do that with whatever character you pick. So, like Pumbaa, he holds them up. But no, it gets better because the death scenes in this, like the death cutaways, like, you know how like okay, in the Aladdin Sega game, when you die, it shows like he falls back, and then it's like a boxing ring, and Genie is like his in this, if you die as Simba, he's on a stool and puts a rope around his neck and kicks it off and hangs himself. You see where I'm going with this. I was gonna make the joke,
Lion King 5, Cruel Lion King, but it sounds like that's actually what happens.
Pumbaa hops into a bowl of boiling water, and Timon buries himself alive.
So it's not so much that you die, it's that you get injured enough that you lose the will to live and kill yourself.
No, the best part of when Timon dies is he digs himself a hole, jumps in, and scoots the dirt off. You see his hand come out and place the shovel as his tombstone.
So I hope to go.
It's so good. The game is terrible, but like that fucking scene. Oh, I guess the guy did come back. Or next to a bunch of people. It's packed here. I think we're gonna try to do some Patreon requests during the week.
I heard you guys talking about that. Do I have one?
Yeah, I don't know what though. I gotta look at the list, because I have it written down on Patreon what they are. But yeah, you know what? I think it's you and I got requested to review Original Sin at some point. That Angelina, we referenced it the other night during Tulip Fever. It's that Angelina Jolie sex movie. Like
I'm 100% on board for this.
Was Antonio Banderas in that? Anyway, it's from like 15 plus years ago or something like that.
I'm surprised I've never seen that, because my one of my best friends, Emily, had like a huge crush on Angelina Jolie in high school, and so she had a copy of Gia that she just wore the fuck out that one scene.
Well, she'd love Original Sin. And then theatrically next week is Mother, the Aronofsky movie.
Mother exclamation point.
Mother exclamation point.
Or alternatively, Mother!
That's what the trailer yelled at us yesterday. See ya.